Hi, my name is Patrick Mordaunt. I'm 17 years old. I can't vote, I can't enlist, and I can't drink, but I can drift.
With a disappointing first round of Formula D competition behind him, 17-year-old drifter Patrick Mordaunt and his team worked furiously to get his 240 ready for round 2 in Atlanta.
Going into Atlanta, I felt very confident because everybody was going to expect me to just kind of barely get by after my crash in Long Beach, and everybody was expecting a very lackluster performance. So I went in with very high expectations and high hopes and just a lot of confidence in myself. Compared to Long Beach, Atlanta is not quite as technical of a course, but at the same time it does have a very high-speed entry with a 90-degree turn on the entry as well. So you really have to watch your speed going past the first clip, otherwise you'll float out and drop a tire off. Following practice Friday night, Frank Saharith, my tuner, came up to me with concerns that possibly our air intake wasn't big enough.
What's this conversation with Frank last night about the intake?
Well, we're worried that the car might be getting a little, choked for air on the low end to mid-range. And at this track, it's a very crucial thing because certain situations you're kind of low in third gear, so you really need that lower area to, to really pull through the turn. So we're just concerned that that might possibly be, hindered by the intake that we're running right now. So we were just thinking of maybe stepping up to actually a 4-inch intake, just to have as much airflow as possible.
Do we have that 4-inch intake here?
No, we don't.
Road Atlanta is considered a power course, so going into the event, we were a little concerned with not making enough horsepower or torque, but realistically, we just kind of thought, okay, well, worst case scenario, let's just hammer down and keep our foot to the floor.
Only the top 32 drivers make it to the main show at Formula D, and only 16 of those spots are up for grabs. Despite the challenges of competing against top guys like Race Millen and Tyler McQuarrie, Pat was able to grab the number 9 spot.
Awesome stuff. Nice, solid, clean lines. How'd it go out there?
Great. I have no regrets. I can't criticize myself. I think that's the best I could have driven.
Even though we were in the main show, we weren't in top 16 yet. And the focus was definitely making top 16.
There was no stopping Pat at Road Atlanta. Pat tackled the solo runs on the tough course like a seasoned pro and landed a highly coveted spot in the top 16.
Qualifying in the top 16 was probably one of the best moments so far in my drifting career.
Qualifying 15, banana split, Pat Mordaunt. Yeah!
I was just super ecstatic to have made it. I finally proved that I can hang with everybody,
This was Pat's first time ever in a Formula D tandem battle, and it wouldn't be easy. Pat would be facing off against one of the toughest competitors in the series, Vaughn Gittin Jr. and his 700 horsepower Mustang.
Sitting up in line, sitting next to JR is sort of an interesting moment. You sort of go, wow, I'm sitting next to a $500,000 race car that has been to hell and back and kicked everybody's ass before. So it was sort of a moment where I had to stop and really hammer down and go, okay, I need to kick his fucking ass.
The first run out, JR established a huge lead in points over Pat, but he dropped a couple wheels off the track on the second run, resulting in a 0 and tying his score with Pat.
First lap out, JR was leading and kept up with him well on the straight and everything. Unfortunately, I made a pretty big mistake on my entry though. Normally I was sweeping across the track and using the inertia to kick the car out as well as the e-brake, but since JR was on the left side of me, I had to just straight line and e-brake in, so it caused me to have a little bit of correction, but the rest of the run went fine and I stuck to him pretty well.
The judges sent the 2 drivers out in a sudden death match to see who would advance to the top 8. As good as Pat is, JR's experience and power gave him an advantage over the Formula D rookie, sending Pat back to the pits.
Going into the one more time, I sort of sat there and went, hey, I'm going up against JR. This is somebody who has done a lot in their career and is a very known driver. So to be going into a one more time with him is huge for me, And yeah, I wasn't expecting to win, but we definitely gave him a run for his money, and I think win or lose, that's better than anything.
I had the sour pleasure of running against RiceBoyTV's boy, Pat Mordaunt. I've known Pat since he was like 13 years old. He used to be that kid hanging out all the time, just really looking up to the drift kids, and to see him out here making top 16 is, you know, a very impressive, cool thing for him. And I knew he was about 16 miles an hour on entry slower than me. I honestly was not looking forward to running him, because running against a guy that's kind of not consistent, pretty slow, is more challenging than running against the world's best drivers. It's one of those bittersweet things, man. You know, you like to see a kid coming up good, but you hate to almost be a victim of, you know, an amateur. And, you know, he's coming up. I wish him the best, but he definitely needs to get a little more speed in that car, and definitely needs to get a little bit more consistent before he's ready to come play with us boys.
You're always bummed when you lose. It sucks, you know, especially when you're out doing racing where your entire goal is to win and podium. But with how I drove against JR and how close we were the entire time, especially after losing by one single point, hey, I'll go out that way, because everybody knows how close that match was and who really won.
Little Pat squared off against Goliath and almost won. Now he'll head out to Formula D Round 3 in New Jersey and aim for a spot in the Grade 8, if not the podium itself.
I'm looking forward to New Jersey because it's a new track for most of us. And after my top 16 in Atlanta, it'll be interesting to see how the crowd as well as the other drivers react to me.